The storm hit faster than anyone expected. Jihoon watched through the window of his cargo vehicle as orange clouds rolled across Titan's frozen surface. The methane wind howled against the metal walls. He had seen bad weather before, but this was different. This was deadly. His radio crackled with static. The main colony was too far away. He was alone, 200 kilometers from the nearest shelter. The vehicle's engine made a grinding sound, then stopped completely. Jihoon felt his heart sink. He checked the repair manual on his tablet, but he already knew the truth. The cold had frozen something important inside the engine. He couldn't fix it, not here. Not in this storm. The computer screen showed his life support status. 8 hours of oxygen left, maybe 9 if he stayed very still and breathed slowly. The storm would last at least 6 hours, probably longer. Even if he could call for help, no one could reach him in time. Jihoon looked at his emergency kit. 1 thermal sleeping bag, 1 small heater, some food bars. Not enough. He put on his suit and stepped outside. The cold hit him immediately, even through the protective layers. Minus 180 degrees, cold enough to freeze human skin in seconds, cold enough to kill. He needed to find something, anything that could help him survive. That's when he saw the light, a small blinking beacon in the distance. It was weak, almost invisible through the orange fog of the storm. Jihoon walked toward it, his boots crunching on the frozen methane ice. Each step was difficult. The wind tried to push him backward, but the light kept blinking. Someone else was out here. The beacon led him to a pod. It was half buried in ice, its metal surface covered with frost. The design was alien, nothing like human technology. Jihoon cleared the ice from a small window and looked inside. His breath caught in his throat. A woman lay inside. At least she looked like a woman. But her skin was pale blue, almost white. Her hair was long and silver. Her body was thin, too thin, like she hadn't eaten in weeks. She wasn't moving. For a moment, Jihoon thought she was dead. Then he saw her chest move slightly. She was breathing. Barely. The pod's control panel was still working, though the power was almost gone. Jihoon touched the screen and it changed to English. Thank God for universal translators. The information made his stomach turn. The pod had been here for 3 months. 3 months alone in Titan's frozen darkness. The woman inside was in cryosleep, but the system was failing. She was freezing to death. Slowly. Her name was Nari. The computer said she was from a species called the Hairy. They lived in cold places, much colder than humans could survive. But even for them, Titan was too cold. Without her pod's heating system, she would die within hours. Jihoon stood in the storm and did the math. His emergency sleeping bag was designed for 2 people. 2 humans could share body heat and survive for 4 hours with the small heater. But the storm would last 6 hours. If he took Nari with him, they might both die. If he left her, she would definitely die. He thought about his options for exactly 10 seconds. Then he opened the pod. Nari's body was ice cold when he lifted her out. She was light, much lighter than a human woman would be. Her skin felt like touching frozen metal. She didn't wake up. Jihoon carried her back to his vehicle, fighting against the wind with every step. His arms ached from the cold and the weight. But he didn't stop. Inside the vehicle, he worked quickly. He spread the sleeping bag on the floor. He stripped off his outer suit, keeping only the thin thermal layer underneath. Then carefully he removed Nari's frozen suit. Her skin was even colder without it, blue-white like ancient ice. He had to do this right. Body heat worked best with skin contact. That's what the survival manual said. Jihoon climbed into the sleeping bag and pulled Nari inside with him. He zipped it closed around them both. Her body pressed against his, freezing cold from head to toe. He gasped from the shock of it. It felt like hugging a corpse pulled from a freezer. He turned on the small heater and placed it near their feet. The storm raged outside. The vehicle rocked in the wind. Jihoon held the alien woman close and tried to share his warmth. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Nari stayed cold. Her breathing was so shallow he had to check constantly to make sure she was still alive. His own body began to shake. He was giving her his heat, but was it enough? After 2 hours, he felt her move. Just a small twitch of her fingers against his chest. Then her eyelids fluttered. Jihoon held very still. He didn't want to scare her. Her eyes opened slowly. They were strange eyes, light purple with no white around the edges. She looked at him with confusion and fear. Then she spoke. The words sounded like music, soft and flowing. Jihoon didn't understand any of it. He wished he had grabbed a translator from the pod. He tried to speak calmly, using simple words. "You're safe. Storm outside. I'm helping you." She probably didn't understand either, but his tone seemed to calm her. She stopped struggling. Nari's skin began to change color. The blue-white faded to a softer blue, then to pale purple. She was warming up. Jihoon felt a wave of relief. She was going to live. They were going to live, but the heater died after 4 hours, just like he knew it would. 2 hours of storm remained. The temperature inside the vehicle started to drop. Jihoon pulled Nari closer, trying to share every bit of warmth he had. She seemed to understand. She pressed against him, her arms wrapping around his body. She was still cold, but not frozen anymore. Not dying. Nari whispered something against his chest. He couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. She was thanking him, or maybe just saying she was scared. Jihoon held her tighter. Outside, the wind screamed. Inside the sleeping bag, 2 people from different worlds clung to each other and waited for dawn. Nari fell asleep after a while, her breathing finally steady and strong. Jihoon stayed awake, counting the minutes. His body ached from staying in one position for so long. His arms were numb, but he didn't move. She needed this warmth. She needed him. When the storm finally ended, Jihoon carefully extracted himself from the sleeping bag. Nari woke up immediately, her purple eyes wide with panic. She reached for him, making distressed sounds. Jihoon tried to explain that he just needed to check the radio, to call for help, but she didn't understand. She grabbed his arm and wouldn't let go. He sat back down. She relaxed slightly. Jihoon realized something important. Whatever had just happened between them, it meant something to her. Something big. He had saved her life. But somehow he suspected that for her it was more than that. The rescue team arrived 3 hours later. They found Jihoon sitting on the floor of his vehicle, with an alien woman clinging to his side. She refused to move away from him. When they tried to separate them, she made a sound like a wounded animal. The rescue team looked at each other in confusion. Jihoon didn't understand it either. He had just wanted to save someone's life. He had done the right thing. So why did it feel like he had just made a choice that would change everything? They brought them both back to the main station. Nari held Jihoon's hand the entire trip. Her grip was gentle but firm. She looked at him like he was the only solid thing in a universe that had tried to kill her. And maybe Jihoon thought that was exactly what he was, at least to her. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Jihoon sat on a bed while a doctor checked his temperature. He was fine, just tired and cold. Nothing that rest and warm food couldn't fix. Nari sat on the bed next to him. Actually, she sat pressed against his side, her hand gripping his arm. The doctor tried to examine her separately. Nari made a high-pitched sound of distress and refused to move. The doctor looked at Jihoon with raised eyebrows. Jihoon could only shrug. He didn't understand it either. A woman named Minseo entered the room. She was a scientist who studied aliens, and she looked very excited. Too excited. She carried a tablet and a portable translator device. She spoke to Nari in her own language, or at least tried to. The translator made the words sound mechanical and strange. Nari answered slowly. Her voice was soft and musical. Minseo typed notes on her tablet as fast as she could. Then she turned to Jihoon with wide eyes. "Do you understand what happened out there?" she asked. Jihoon shook his head. "I just shared my sleeping bag with her." She was freezing. It was basic survival. Minseo laughed, but it wasn't a mean laugh. It was the laugh of someone who knew a secret. For humans, yes, basic survival. But for the hairy, what you did is much more important. You created something called a thermal bond. A what? Jihoon asked. Minseo sat down and explained. The hairy came from a planet that had been thrown out of its solar system millions of years ago. It drifted through space, dark and frozen. The hairy survived by clustering together for warmth. Over time, this became more than just physical survival. It became part of their psychology, their culture, their soul. When a hairy shared life-saving warmth with someone, it created a bond. A deep connection that couldn't be broken easily. The person who saved them became their thermal anchor. The most important person in their life. More important than family. More important than friends. It was absolute trust. Jihoon felt his stomach drop. "You're saying she thinks I'm, what, her owner?" No, Minseo said quickly. "Not an owner. Think of it more like a life partner. Someone she's connected to. She trusts you completely. She needs to be near you. It's not romantic, not exactly. It's deeper than that. It's survival instinct mixed with emotional bonding. Jihoon looked at Nari. She looked back at him with those strange purple eyes. She didn't look crazy or obsessed. She looked calm, content, like she had found something she had been missing. Can it be undone? He asked quietly. Minseo hesitated. Technically, yes. But it takes time. Months, maybe years. And it's painful for the hairy. Like breaking an addiction. She would suffer. She paused. Why? Do you want to undo it? Jihoon didn't answer. He didn't know what he wanted. He had saved her life. That was supposed to be the end of the story. Save the person, get thanked, move on. But this was different. This was complicated. Over the next few days, Jihoon learned just how complicated it was. Nari followed him everywhere. To his quarters. To the cafeteria. To the bathroom door where she waited outside like a loyal dog. It was suffocating. Jihoon was a man who liked being alone. He had chosen a career in space specifically because it meant long hours of solitude. And now he had a constant shadow, but Nari wasn't trying to be annoying. That was the strange part. She was quiet. She didn't demand attention. She just needed to be near him. Sometimes she would sit across the room and read something on a tablet. Sometimes she would fall asleep in a chair while he worked. She wasn't invasive. She was just there, always there. The translator helped them communicate better. Nari's English improved quickly. She was smart, Jihoon realized. Very smart. She had been an engineer on her ship before it crashed. She knew things about technology that impressed even the human scientists. One evening, Jihoon tried to explain the concept of personal space. They sat in his quarters and he used simple words. I need time alone sometimes. It's not because I don't like you. It's just how humans are. We need space. Nari tilted her head, thinking. Then she spoke carefully in her accented English. Space means distance. You want distance from me? Not distance, exactly, just some time where you're not in the same room, where I can think my own thoughts. She looked confused. But your thoughts are your thoughts. I am here or not here. Your thoughts are still yours. Yes? Jihoon rubbed his face. How could he explain that her presence changed things? That even if she was quiet, even if she wasn't doing anything, just knowing she was there made him feel watched, made him feel obligated? For Harry, Nari said slowly, being alone is fear. Being together is safe. When I am far from you, I feel cold inside. Not body cold. Heart cold, mind cold. You understand? Jihoon did understand, actually. That was the problem. He could see that this wasn't manipulation. She genuinely suffered when they were apart. But he also suffered when they were together all the time. Two different kinds of pain. No easy solution. Other crew members started to notice. Some found it funny. Some found it weird. A few found it annoying, especially when Nari blocked doorways because she was waiting for Jihoon. The station commander called them both in for a meeting. Commander Youngsu was a serious man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen a lot in his years running the station. But this situation was new even for him. He looked at Jihoon and Nari sitting side by side in his office. Nari's hand rested on Jihoon's arm. We've contacted the Harry fleet, Youngsu said. They're sending a ship to pick up Nari. They'll be here in 2 weeks. Until then, we need to figure out how to make this situation work for everyone. Nari's grip on Jihoon's arm tightened. She spoke in rapid Harry to the translator. The mechanical voice said, I do not want to leave my thermal anchor. I will stay with Jihoon, Youngsu sighed. Miss Nari, you can't stay here permanently. This is a research station, not a colony, and Jihoon has work to do. Important work. He can't do it with you following him everywhere. Nari looked at Jihoon with something like panic in her eyes. He felt a strange twist in his chest. Part of him wanted to be free of this situation. But another part, a part he didn't want to examine too closely, didn't want her to look at him like that. Scared. Abandoned. Maybe, Jihoon heard himself say, maybe we can find a compromise. Until her ship arrives, some kind of schedule, where we're together part of the day and apart part of the day. Youngsu nodded. That sounds reasonable. Work on it, figure something out. We have 2 weeks. He dismissed them. Walking back to his quarters, Jihoon felt Nari's hand slip into his. She didn't say anything. Neither did he. But something had shifted. He had defended her right to stay near him, at least for a while. He had chosen to help her again, and that choice felt both right and terrifying. That night, Nari slept on a cot in his quarters instead of in the guest area. She said she slept better when she could hear him breathing. Ji-hoon lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what he had gotten himself into, and wondering why part of him didn't mind as much as he thought he should. The first week was harder than Ji-hoon expected. He tried to create a schedule. Morning, they would eat breakfast together. Then he would go to work on his cargo ship for 4 hours alone. Afternoon, they would have lunch together. Then another 4 hours apart. Evening, dinner and some shared time before sleep. It sounded reasonable on paper. In reality, it was torture for both of them. Nari tried to follow the rules. She really did. But Ji-hoon could see the stress on her face during their apart time. Her skin would fade to a paler blue. Her hands would shake slightly. She would stand near the door to his work area, not entering but not leaving either, just standing there waiting. It made Ji-hoon feel guilty, which made him angry, which made him feel more guilty. A terrible cycle. On the 5th day, he found her sitting outside his cargo ship at 3 in the morning. She was supposed to be sleeping in his quarters. Instead, she sat on the cold floor of the hangar, wrapped in a blanket, waiting for him. He had woken up early to do some work. She must have heard him leave. "Nari," he said, his voice tight. "This has to stop. You need to sleep. You need to take care of yourself." She looked up at him with tired eyes. "I take care of myself by being near you." "This is taking care of myself," Ji-hoon wanted to scream. Or cry, or both. Instead, he sat down next to her on the cold floor. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be what you need. You already are," she said softly. "You are my warmth. You saved me. You are patient with me. You try to understand even when it is hard. This is enough." "But it's not enough for me," Ji-hoon said, and immediately regretted it when he saw her face crumple. They didn't talk much after that. The distance between them felt bigger even though they were sitting side by side. During the day, Ji-hoon started noticing small things about Nari. Good things. She was incredibly smart. When his ship's navigation system glitched, she fixed it in 10 minutes. Something that would have taken him hours. She did it quietly, efficiently, then went back to reading her tablet like it was nothing. She also had a strange sense of humor. She watched old Earth movies on his computer. Korean dramas, specifically. She seemed to think they were documentaries about human behavior. This led to some very confused questions. "Why do humans confess love in the rain?" she asked one day. "Rain is cold. Cold is bad. Why choose cold for important words?" Ji-hoon had to explain that it was dramatic, not practical. She looked very skeptical. "Humans are strange," she concluded. He couldn't argue with that. She tried to cook human food once. It was a disaster. She didn't understand that humans couldn't eat raw meat like the hairy could. The kitchen staff found her preparing something that looked like it came from a horror movie. But she had been trying to make him breakfast. The thought was sweet, even if the result was terrifying. The other crew members had mixed reactions. Some found the situation amusing. They would make jokes about Ji-hoon having a space girlfriend. He hated those jokes. This wasn't romantic. This was complicated and messy, and he didn't know what it was. Some crew members were less kind. They complained that Nari was in the way, that she took up space in the cafeteria, that she used resources meant for humans. Ji-hoon found himself defending her more than once, which was strange because he was the one who wanted space from her. Min-seo continued her research. She interviewed both of them regularly. Ji-hoon found it annoying, but Nari seemed to enjoy talking to someone who understood hairy culture. Min-seo explained more about thermal bonding to Ji-hoon. "It's not about control," Min-seo said. "It's about trust. Complete trust. Nari trusts you with her life. Not because she has to. Because you earned it. You chose to save her when you didn't have to. You risked your own life. That means everything to a hairy." "But I'm not hairy," Ji-hoon said. "I can't give her what she needs." "Oh no, maybe not," Min-seo agreed. "But you're trying. That counts for something." On the 10th day, Ji-hoon had a breakdown. He was in his quarters, and Nari was sitting quietly in the corner reading. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just there, and suddenly he couldn't take it anymore. "I need you to leave," he said. His voice came out louder than he meant it to. "Just for an hour, please, I need to be alone." Nari stood up immediately. She looked scared. Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. That's the problem. You're perfect. You're quiet. You're helpful. But you're always here. Always watching. Always needing. And I can't breathe. Tears filled her eyes. Jihoon had never seen her cry before. I try to be less. I try to be quiet. I try to not need. But the need does not go away. The bond does not go away. I cannot change what I am. And I can't change what I am either, Jihoon said. His own eyes were burning. I'm not trying to be cruel. But this is killing me, slowly every day. They stood there looking at each other. Both hurting. Both right. Both wrong. There was no solution, no compromise that would make both of them happy. Nari left. She went to the guest quarters where she had stayed in the beginning. Jihoon sat alone in his room. He had wanted this. Wanted to be alone. So why did he feel worse now? He tried to work. He tried to read. He tried to sleep. Nothing helped. The room felt empty. Too empty. He told himself he was just not used to being alone anymore. That he would adjust. But hours later he found himself walking to the guest quarters. He knocked on the door. Nari opened it. Her eyes were red. Her skin was pale blue, almost white. She looked like she had when he first found her in the ice. Dying. I'm sorry, Jihoon said. The words came out rough. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to make this work. But I don't want you to suffer. Come back, please. Nari didn't say anything. She just walked to him and pressed her forehead against his chest. They stood like that for a long time. Not hugging. Just touching. Finding some middle ground between too much closeness and too much distance. We are both trying to be something we are not. Nari said quietly. You try to need less space. I try to need less closeness. But maybe we are trying wrong. Maybe we need to accept what we are and find new way. Jihoon didn't know what that new way would look like. But for the first time, he felt like maybe they could find it, if they both stopped trying to fix themselves and started trying to understand each other instead. They walked back to his quarters together. Not because they had solved anything, but because they had both admitted they didn't have to solve it alone. That was something. Maybe it was enough for now. The hairy ship arrived on the 12th day. It was beautiful, shaped like a spiral shell made of silver metal. It didn't land on Titan's surface. Instead, it stayed in orbit, and a smaller shuttle came down to the station. Jihoon and Nari stood in the docking bay with Commander Youngsu and several other crew members. Nari's hand gripped Jihoon so tightly it hurt. Her skin had gone pale blue again. She was scared. The shuttle door opened. 3 Harry stepped out. They all had the same pale blue skin as Nari, the same silver hair, the same purple eyes, but they moved differently than her. They moved together, almost like one being with 3 bodies. It was strange to watch. The leader was a woman named Bora. She was taller than Nari, with streaks of darker blue in her hair. When she saw Nari, her expression shifted through several emotions too fast for Jihoon to read. Then she spoke in the Harry language, her voice sharp. Nari answered, her voice quiet. The translator device Minseo held couldn't keep up with how fast they were talking. But Jihoon didn't need translation to understand the tone. Bora was angry. Nari was defensive. Finally, Bora turned to Jihoon. She spoke in perfect English, which surprised him. You are the human who bonded with my sister. I saved her life, Jihoon said. I didn't know about the bonding thing. Ignorance does not undo what has been done. Bora's eyes were cold. My sister is suffering because of this bond. She cannot eat properly. She cannot sleep. She is tied to a being who does not understand or want the connection. This is torture. Jihoon felt anger rise in his chest. I never wanted this. But I'm trying. I'm doing my best to help her. Your best is not enough, Bora said. She needs to come home. We can help her break the bond safely. It will take time, but she will recover. No. Nari's voice was quiet but firm. She spoke in English so everyone could understand. I will not leave Jihoon. Bora looked at her sister with something like pain. Nari, be reasonable. This human cannot give you what you need. He is not Harry. He will never understand our ways. You are destroying yourself for someone who does not want you. That is not true, Nari said. She squeezed Jihoon's hand. He tries. Every day he tries. He is uncomfortable, yes, but he does not abandon me. He does not lie to me. He is honest and kind. This is more than want. This is choice. He chooses to stay with me even when it is hard. That means everything. Commander Young-Soo cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this in a more private setting. My office, the meeting was tense. Bora explained more about hairy culture. Their species had no concept of individuality the way humans did. They lived in clusters, making decisions together, sharing everything. The idea of one person living alone was horrifying to them. It was like asking a human to stop breathing. But humans are different, Young-Soo said. We value personal freedom, independence. We need time alone to process our thoughts and feelings. It's not wrong. It's just different. Different in a way that makes this bond impossible, Bora argued. My sister needs constant proximity. This human needs space. These needs cannot coexist. Someone must suffer. We are finding ways, Nari said. It is hard, yes, but not impossible, Bora shook her head. You think you are finding ways, but I see you, sister. You are thinner. Your skin is too pale. You are not sleeping well. This bond is killing you slowly. Ji-hoon felt something twist in his chest. Was that true? Was Nari hurting more than she let on? He looked at her carefully. She did look thinner. More tired. Had he been so focused on his own discomfort that he missed hers? The discussion went in circles for over an hour. Bora wanted Nari to return to the hairy ship. Nari refused. Young-Soo wanted a solution that satisfied everyone. There wasn't one. Ji-hoon stayed mostly quiet, listening to them talk about him like he wasn't there. Finally, Min-seo spoke up. What if we think about this differently? Instead of trying to make Nari more human or Ji-hoon more hairy, what if we create something new, a way of being together that respects both species' needs? Such as? Bora asked, skeptical. Min-seo looked excited like she did when she had a new research idea. Structured proximity. Ji-hoon needs alone time, but it's hardest for Nari when she doesn't know when she'll see him again. What if they set specific times together and specific times apart, but with clear boundaries? She knows exactly when they'll be together again, so the separation is less frightening. We tried that, Ji-hoon said. It didn't really work. Because you were trying to force it, Min-seo said. Maybe instead of scheduling separation, schedule togetherness. Plan activities you do together. Then the alone time is just what happens in between, not something you're imposing on her. It was a subtle difference, but it made sense. Instead of pushing Nari away during alone time, they would plan to come together at specific times. The focus would be on connection rather than separation. Bora still looked unhappy. This is just a temporary solution. Eventually, Nari must return home. She cannot stay on a human station forever. Why not? Nari asked. If I am happy here, if Ji-hoon is here, why must I leave? Because you are hairy, Bora said. Because you belong with your people. Because this human life is not meant for you. Maybe I decide what life is meant for me, Nari said quietly. The silence that followed was heavy. Ji-hoon realized something important. This wasn't just about him and Nari anymore. This was about two different species trying to understand each other. Two different ways of living, two different values. The hairy valued community and togetherness above all. Humans valued freedom and individual choice. Neither was wrong. But they were very, very different. Commander Young-Soo ended the meeting without any real resolution. Bora and her crew would stay for a few days to observe the situation. Then they would decide what to do next. It wasn't satisfying for anyone, but it was the best they could do. That evening, Ji-hoon and Nari sat together in his quarters. They didn't talk much. There was too much to say and no good words for it. Finally, Ji-hoon broke the silence. Is your sister right? Am I hurting you? Nari thought for a moment. Yes, but also no. Being with you is hard sometimes. Being apart is harder. If I go home, I will be safe and comfortable, but I will always feel cold inside, missing the warmth you gave me, missing you. I don't want you to suffer because of me, Ji-hoon said. Then do not make me leave, Nari said simply. That would be the greatest suffering. They sat in silence again. But this time it felt different. Less heavy. They were being honest with each other. Really honest. About the pain and the difficulty and the impossibility of it all. And somehow that honesty made it a little bit easier to bear. The attack happened on the third day after the hairy ship arrived. No one expected it. The station's alarm started screaming at 4 in the morning, pulling everyone from sleep. Jihoon jumped out of bed, his heart racing. Nari was awake instantly, her eyes wide with fear. "What is happening?" she asked. "I don't know." "Stay here." Jihoon grabbed his tablet and checked the station's alert system. His blood ran cold. 3 unknown ships had appeared in orbit. Pirates. A species called the Vex. They were notorious for raiding isolated stations. Commander Youngsu's voice came over the station's speakers. His voice was calm but urgent. "All non-essential personnel, proceed to emergency shelters immediately. Security team, defensive positions. This is not a drill." Jihoon looked at Nari. "You need to get to a shelter now." "What about you?" Her hand gripped his arm. "I'm a cargo pilot. They might need me." He gently pulled her hand away. "Please, Nari, go to the shelter. I'll come find you when it's safe." For once, she didn't argue. Maybe she heard the fear in his voice. Maybe she understood this was serious. She nodded and ran toward the shelter area. Jihoon ran the opposite direction, toward the command center. The command center was chaos. Screens showed the 3 Vex ships closing in. They were firing on the station's shields. Commander Youngsu was giving orders to security teams while trying to contact the Harry ship for help. Bora's face appeared on the main screen. "We see them. We are powering weapons, but our ship is not designed for combat. We are explorers, not warriors. We'll take any help we can get," Youngsu said. "They're after your ship's technology. The thermal systems. They'll tear through us to get to you." Jihoon stepped forward. "Commander, I can help coordinate. My cargo ship has long-range sensors. I can track their movements and relay information." Youngsu nodded. "Do it, we need every advantage." Jihoon ran to the hangar. His cargo ship wasn't meant for combat, but its sensors were excellent. He powered up the systems and started scanning the Vex ships. They were moving in a pattern, testing the station's defenses, looking for weak points. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to see Nari climbing into his ship. "What are you doing?" "You're supposed to be in the shelter." "I can help," she said firmly. "Harry thermal technology is what they want. I know how it works. I know how to use it as a weapon if needed." Jihoon wanted to argue, wanted to send her back to safety, but he saw the determination in her eyes, and he knew she was right. They needed her knowledge. "Okay, but you follow my orders. Understand?" She nodded. They worked together, Jihoon tracking the Vex ships while Nari connected to the Harry vessel systems remotely. She spoke rapidly in her own language, coordinating with her sister's crew. The station's shields held for 20 minutes. Then one of the Vex ships fired a focused beam that punched through. The station shook. Alarms screamed louder. "They're launching boarding craft," Jihoon reported to the command center. 3 small ships heading for the station's main docking bay. "Security teams are spread thin," Youngsu's voice came back. "We can't cover every entrance." Nari pulled up a schematic of the station on the screen. "The civilian shelters. They are near the secondary docking bay. If Vex find them." Jihoon's stomach dropped. She was right. The Vex could reach the shelters through that route, and there were no security teams there. Everyone was protecting the main areas. He made a decision. Probably a stupid decision, but it was the only one he could make. "Commander, the secondary docking bay is undefended. I'm going there." "Negative, Jihoon. You're not trained for combat. Stay in your ship." "With respect, Commander, I'm already moving." Jihoon grabbed a mining laser from his ship's equipment locker. It wasn't a weapon, but it could burn through metal. It would have to do. "I am coming with you," Nari said. "No, you stay here and coordinate with your sister's ship." "I need you safe." Nari grabbed his arm. Her grip was strong. "If you die, I die. Not physically, but inside, where it matters. We go together or not at all." There was no time to argue. Jihoon nodded. They ran together toward the secondary docking bay. The station's corridors were empty. Everyone was either fighting, hiding, or coordinating the defense. Their footsteps echoed in the metal hallways. They reached the docking bay just as a Vex boarding craft attached to the outer door. Jihoon and Nari took cover behind some cargo crates. The door hissed open. 6 Vex warriors entered. They were insect-like with hard shells and too many legs. They carried weapons that glowed with dangerous energy. Jihoon's hands shook as he aimed the mining laser. This was insane. He was a cargo pilot, not a soldier. But those creatures were heading toward the civilian shelters. Toward people who couldn't defend themselves, he fired. The laser beam hit the lead Vex in the center mass. The creature screamed and fell. The others immediately turned toward him, raising their weapons. Time seemed to slow down. Ji-hoon saw them aim, saw the energy building in their weapons. He had drawn their attention. Good. That meant they weren't going after the civilians, but it also meant he was about to die. Then Nari stood up from behind the crates. She held something in her hands, a device from her ship. She pressed a button and threw it toward the Vex. The device exploded in a wave of freezing energy. The temperature in the docking bay dropped instantly. The Vex screamed as frost formed on their shells. They moved slower, confused by the sudden cold. Ji-hoon fired again, and again. The Vex fell. But one of them got a shot off before going down. The energy bolt hit Ji-hoon in the shoulder. He felt burning pain and then nothing. His legs gave out. He collapsed. He heard Nari scream his name, felt her hands on his face, heard her speaking rapidly and hairy, probably calling for help. The world got dark around the edges. His last clear thought was strange. He had saved Nari's life in a frozen storm. Now she had saved his in a different way. Maybe that made them even. Maybe the bond worked both ways after all. Then darkness took him. He woke up to bright lights and the smell of medical equipment. His shoulder hurt a lot. But he was alive. Ji-hoon tried to move and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his entire body. Do not move. You are hurt. Nari's voice. She was sitting in a chair next to his bed. She looked terrible. Her skin was pale, her eyes red. She had been crying. Did we win? Ji-hoon's voice came out rough. Yes. Security team stopped the main boarding party. My sister's ship disabled one of the Vex vessels. The others fled. You saved many lives. The civilians in the shelter are safe because of you. We, Ji-hoon corrected. We saved them. You froze those Vex. That was brilliant. Nari's eyes filled with tears again. You almost died. Because you are brave and stupid. Mostly stupid. Ji-hoon tried to smile. You followed me. That makes you stupid too. Yes, she agreed. We are both stupid together. They looked at each other. And despite the pain and fear and exhaustion, Ji-hoon felt something shift inside him. They had fought together, saved lives together, trusted each other completely in a moment of crisis. The bond didn't feel like a burden anymore. It felt like partnership. Ji-hoon spent 3 days in the medical bay. The doctor said he was lucky. The energy bolt had burned tissue but missed anything vital. He would recover fully. He just needed rest and time. Nari never left. The doctors tried to make her go, to get rest, to eat proper meals. She refused. She slept in a chair next to his bed. She ate food bars someone brought her. She stayed. On the second day, Ji-hoon woke up at night to find her sleeping in the chair, her hand holding his. Her face looked peaceful in sleep. Younger somehow. He realized he had never really looked at her before. Not really. He had been so focused on the problem of her presence that he hadn't seen her as a person. As someone with her own fears and hopes and struggles. She woke when he moved. Her eyes opened immediately. Always alert? Are you in pain? Should I call doctor? No, I'm okay. He squeezed her hand gently. You should sleep in a real bed. That chair can't be comfortable. I sleep where you are, she said simply. Like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Nari. Why? The question came out before he could stop it. Why me? You could have bonded with anyone who saved you. Someone who understood your culture. Someone who could give you what you need. Why are you so determined to stay with me? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. When I was freezing in that pod, I thought I would die. I accepted it. 3 months of cold and dark and silence. I was ready for death. Then you opened the pod. You carried me. You shared your warmth even though it hurt you. Even though we were strangers. Even though you gained nothing from saving me. She paused, choosing her words carefully. For Harry, survival is about cluster. About group. We save our own. But you saved someone who was not your own. You risked your life for an alien you did not know. This is rare, precious. It showed me who you are inside. Not what species you are. Who you are. Ji-hoon felt his chest tighten. I'm not a hero. I just did what anyone would do. No, not anyone. Many would have left me. Saved their own life first. You did not. And then after bond formed, you could have been cruel. Could have abandoned me. could have forced me away, but you tried, even when it was hard, even when you were uncomfortable. You tried to understand. You tried to help. This is why I stay. Not because of Bond. Because of you. Ji-hoon didn't know what to say. He had spent weeks seeing her presence as a burden, but she had been seeing him as someone worth the struggle, worth the pain, worth everything. On the third day Minseo visited, she brought her tablet full of research notes. She looked excited, which was her default expression. I've been studying your situation, both of you, and I think I finally understand what's happening. What do you mean? Ji-hoon asked. Minseo sat down and pulled up charts on her tablet. Thermal bonding isn't about possession or need. It's about trust. Complete, absolute trust. When a Harry bonds with someone, they're saying, I trust you with my life. Not just physically, emotionally, psychologically, everything. We knew that already, Ji-hoon said. Yes, but here's what we didn't know. The bond can change. It's not static. It adapts to both people involved. Nari's bond with you is different from a typical Harry bond because you're human. Her need for proximity has been gradually adjusting. Look at the data. 3 weeks ago, she couldn't be more than 10 meters from you without distress. Now she can handle being in different rooms. She can sleep for a few hours without needing to see you. She's adapting. Ji-hoon looked at Nari. Is that true? Nari nodded slowly. Yes, it is still hard, but less hard than before. I understand now that you will return. That separation is not abandonment. You taught me this. With your patience, Minseo continued. And Ji-hoon, you've been adapting too. You're more comfortable with her presence. You initiate contact now. Small things like holding her hand or sitting close. You didn't do that before. You're both changing, meeting each other halfway. Ji-hoon realized she was right. When had that started? When had Nari's presence stopped feeling suffocating and started feeling normal, natural even? So what does this mean? Auntie asked. It means you're creating something new. A bond that respects both Harry and human needs. It's unprecedented. No one has ever documented a thermal bond working across species with such different social structures. You two are pioneers, Minseo grinned. Also, you're going to be in so many research papers. Great, Ji-hoon said dryly. But he was smiling. Bora visited that afternoon. She looked different from when she first arrived. Less angry, less certain. She spoke to Nari in their language for a few minutes, then turned to Ji-hoon. I was wrong about you, she said. I thought you were harming my sister. But I see now that you are trying to help her. Even when it costs you. This is admirable. Thank you, Ji-hoon said. He didn't know what else to say. My sister wishes to stay with you. On this station. On your ship. Wherever you go, I've decided to allow this. Bora's expression was serious. But you must understand the responsibility. If you accept her as your thermal anchor, you accept all that comes with it, the good and the difficult. Can you do this? Ji-hoon looked at Nari. She was watching him with those strange purple eyes, hoping, trusting. He thought about the past weeks, the frustration and awkwardness, but also the moments of connection, working together during the attack. Her brilliant mind fixing his ship. Her quiet presence making his quarters feel less empty. Her trust in him absolute and unshakable. He thought about himself too. How he had changed. How her presence had forced him to face his fear of connection. How she had shown him that needing people wasn't weakness. That letting someone see you wasn't losing yourself. Yes, he said. I can do this. I want to do this. Nari's face lit up. Her skin shifted to a warmer tone, pink and purple mixing with the blue. She smiled. A real smile, bright and beautiful. Ji-hoon felt something warm in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. Happiness. Simple, uncomplicated happiness. Bora nodded. Then it is decided. Nari will stay with you. I will return to our fleet and inform them. This will be discussed for many years, I think. A Harry choosing to live with a human. It will change things. After Bora left, Ji-hoon and Nari sat together in comfortable silence. Finally, Ji-hoon spoke. I have something to tell you. Something I've been realizing. Yes? When you were waiting for me during the attack and I was going to face those Vex, I was terrified. Not just of dying, of leaving you alone, of breaking the promise I made when I pulled you from that pod. In that moment, I realized something. The bond doesn't just go one way. I'm bonded to you too. Maybe not in the Harry way, but in a human way. I care about you. I want you to be safe and happy. I want to be the person you think I am. Nari's eyes filled with tears. Happy tears. You are already that person. You have always been that person. This is why I chose you. Not because of the thermal bond. The bond happened because of who you are. Not the other way around. I would choose you again. Every time. Bond or no bond. They sat together, hands clasped, understanding finally reaching between them. Two people from different worlds, finding a way to build something new, something that belonged to both of them, something worth keeping. 6 months later, Jihoon's cargo ship flew through Saturn's rings on another supply run, but this time he wasn't alone. Nari sat in the co-pilot seat checking navigation data. She had learned human systems quickly. Now she was better at navigation than he was. They had found their rhythm. Their own way of being together. His ship now had 2 sleeping areas. His cabin with a door he could close when he needed quiet time. Her cabin nearby where she could rest and work. Most nights they slept separately. Some nights, especially cold ones, they shared space. The choice was always mutual. Always discussed. Never forced. They had schedules now. Real ones that worked. Morning coffee together, then separate work time. Lunch together, shared and quiet. Afternoon work time, sometimes separate, sometimes side by side. Evening meal together, talking about their day. Then free time where they could choose closeness or distance based on what they both needed. It wasn't perfect. They still had difficult days. Days when Nari struggled with her need for proximity, and Jihoon struggled with his need for space. But they talked about it now, honestly, without blame. They had learned each other's signals. When Nari's skin faded to pale blue, Jihoon knew she needed reassurance. When Jihoon got quiet and tense, Nari knew he needed breathing room. Approaching Station 7, Nari announced. Cargo bay is prepared for receiving. Good, we're early. Want to grab some food at the station cafeteria? Jihoon asked. Nari smiled. Yes, but please no more human spicy food. My stomach still remembers last time. Jihoon laughed. She had tried his favorite Korean dishes. It had not gone well. Okay, mild food only. I promise. They docked the ship and unloaded the cargo. The station crew had gotten used to seeing them together. No one stared anymore. No one made awkward comments. They were just Jihoon and Nari, the pilot and his navigator, the human and the Harry who made it work. In the cafeteria, they ran into Commander Youngsu. He was visiting from the main station. He sat down with them, looking tired but pleased. I hear you two have been getting excellent reviews. Fastest cargo team in the sector. Safest too. Nari is a good navigator, Jihoon said. Jihoon is a good pilot, Nari added. Also, he finally learned to not drink coffee while doing difficult maneuvers. Youngsu chuckled. You two have become quite the team. The Harry fleet has been asking about you. They're interested in sending more cultural exchange personnel. Seems like your situation has opened some doors. Really? Nari looked surprised and pleased, really. Turns out, proving that Harry and humans can work together has political value. Who knew? Youngsu smiled. There's talk of establishing joint research stations, trading technology, building bridges between our species, all because you two refuse to give up on each other. After Youngsu left, Jihoon and Nari walked back to their ship. The station's windows showed Saturn hanging in space, massive and beautiful. They stopped to look at it together. Do you ever regret it? Jihoon asked quietly. Staying with me instead of going back to your people. Nari thought about it. She always thought before answering important questions. Sometimes I miss my cluster, my family, the comfort of being with my own kind. But then I remember that night in the storm, how you saved me, how you gave me a second chance at life. Not just physical life, a new way of living. A new way of being Harry. I do not regret this. Do you regret saving me? No, Jihoon said immediately. Then he paused. Actually, that's not completely true. In the beginning, I did regret it. I thought I had ruined my life by getting bonded to you. I felt trapped, but now, he looked at her. Now I can't imagine my life without you in it. You make me a better person. You challenge me. You understand me. Even when we drive each other crazy, I wouldn't change it. Nari smiled, that bright smile that made her skin shift to warmer colors. We are good together. Different but good. Yeah, Jihoon agreed. Different but good. They walked back to the ship together. Not touching but close enough. Finding that balance they had worked so hard to create. Their ship was home now. Not his ship or her ship. Theirs. With spaces for togetherness and spaces for solitude. With room for both of them to be themselves. That evening, as they prepared for the next cargo run, Ji-hoon found Nari in the navigation room. She was studying star charts, planning their route. He brought her tea the way she liked it, with some kind of hairy herb that smelled like flowers. "Thank you," she said, accepting the cup. Their fingers brushed. She didn't grab his hand like she used to. She just let the touch happen naturally, another sign of how far they had come. "What are you working on?" Ji-hoon asked. "New route. More efficient. Saves 3 hours," she pointed at the screen. "But also more dangerous. We pass close to asteroid field. What do you think?" Ji-hoon studied the route. He trusted her calculations. She was brilliant at this. "I think if you planned it, it's safe enough." "We'll take the new route." Nari looked pleased. She valued his trust in her abilities. "Good. We leave at dawn." Ji-hoon moved toward the door, then paused. "Nari, I'm glad you're here. Just wanted you to know that." She turned to look at him, surprise and happiness in her eyes. "I am glad too. Thank you for saying it." He nodded and left, heading to his cabin. But the warmth in his chest stayed. They had come so far from that frozen night in the storm, from strangers to partners, from burden to choice, from necessity to something deeper, something real. Later that night, Ji-hoon couldn't sleep. He got up and wandered to the common area. He was surprised to find Nari there, looking out the window at the stars. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Too much thinking," she said. "About everything that happened. How different my life is now from what I expected." Ji-hoon sat down next to her. Not too close, respecting her space. "Better or worse? Different. Not better or worse, just different. More difficult in some ways. More interesting in others. More lonely sometimes. More full other times. I am learning that life is complicated. The hairy way is simple. Everyone together always. No confusion. No conflict. But also no growth. No challenge. No becoming more than what you started as." "You've grown a lot," Ji-hoon said. "You're more independent now. More confident. You're still hairy, but you're also uniquely you." "You have grown too," Nari said. "Less afraid. Less alone. More open. You let me in. This was not easy for you, but you did it anyway. This is brave." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars move slowly past the window. After a while, Nari moved closer. Not touching, just closer. Ji-hoon didn't move away. He let her be near. Chose to let her be near. "Ji-hoon?" Nari said quietly. "Do you remember what Minseo said? About us being pioneers?" "Yeah, why?" "I think she was right. But not just about the bond. About everything. We are showing two different species that connection is possible. That understanding can happen even when it seems impossible. That love takes many forms. Not romantic love, not yet maybe. But care, trust, partnership. These are forms of love too." Ji-hoon considered her words. She was right. What they had built together wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't a traditional hairy bond. It wasn't a typical human friendship. It was something new. Something that belonged only to them. Something worth protecting. "You know what the crazy part is?" Ji-hoon said. "When I found you in that storm, all I wanted was to survive the night. I never thought about the future. Never thought about what saving you would mean. If I had known, would I still have done it?" He paused. "Yeah, I would have. Even knowing how hard it would be. I would do it again. And I would choose you again," Nari said. "Even knowing the pain of adaptation. Even knowing the struggle. You were worth it. You are worth it." They stayed there for a while longer, two people from different worlds who had found a way to share one ship, one life, one strange and beautiful partnership. The galaxy was full of different species, different ways of being, but they had proven something important. That difference didn't have to mean division. That understanding could bridge any gap if both people were willing to try. Eventually, they both went back to their cabins. Separate spaces but connected, independent but together, different but somehow perfectly balanced. The next morning, they launched from the station together. Ji-hoon at the controls, Nari managing navigation. Their ship flew through Saturn's rings, heading toward the next delivery. The next adventure, the next chapter in their unlikely story. And somewhere in the galaxy, other humans and Hyri heard about them. About the cargo pilot and the engineer who made the impossible work. About the human who saved an alien in a frozen storm, and the alien who refused to let him face the universe alone. About two people who chose each other, every day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Because that's what partnership really meant. Not being together because you had to be, but because you chose to be, again and again and again. Ji-hoon looked over at Nari. She was focused on her screens, calculating trajectories with that brilliant mind of hers. She felt his gaze and glanced up, smiling. Not the desperate need of the early days, just a simple smile, happy, content. Home. He smiled back and returned his attention to the controls. They had cargo to deliver, systems to visit, a life to live, together but still themselves, connected but still free, different but perfectly balanced. The ship flew on through the darkness of space, carrying two souls who had found something rare and precious in the vast universe.